Towards the end of January, I mentioned that I wanted to do something called the 28 Days of Book Love, where I took a look every single day during February at some little details about books and book design that I love, that sometimes maybe go underappreciated. I invited you guys to join me if you wanted, and I've loved hearing in the comments and occasionally on Instagram or Twitter about different things that you guys like too, but the fact of the matter is I actually did it. I said I was going to do it every single day, and I did it. Yay me. I really didn't think it was going to happen, but I have 28 things listed in this bullet journal, and even though I have posted them across social media, so they've been on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, I still wanted to put something together that just had all of it encompassed into one. So this is kind of a 28 Days of Book Love book chat. It might be a little long because it's 28 things, so just warning you. But it's 28 things of like detail amazingness, so it's worth sticking around, I think. But I've compiled it all here for you, for anyone that missed it or missed any days, or just want to revel in it a little bit more. I've been taking clips throughout the month, so, you know, lighting will change, I will change, it's the nature of it. So, without further ado, here are 28 days worth of things that I love about books and book design. Number 1, maps. Of course. What book nerd doesn't love a good bookish map? It seemed like the right place to start because it's like a big one, everyone loves it, but I kind of wish I would have saved it for the end because as I was going through the rest of the month I kept finding more and I was like, oh yeah, another map. So, there are a lot of amazing maps out there. Maybe I'll just start sharing them on Instagram or Twitter. Then we have colored or gilded edges. So gilding is when you kind of coat the edge of the paper on a book in gold or gold leaf. Love that, of course, everybody does, but I also like just when they're colored. I used to actually do this to my books when I was a kid. I would clamp them closed as tight as I could and then take a marker and run it along the edges. I've even painted them, which was not a great idea because then sometimes they get stuck together. But yeah, it's just a thing I love. And I only shared a few on Instagram, but I found so many more as I was going through the month, so lots of pretty colored edges. My boxed set of Jane Austen books was actually supposed to have colored edges, and it didn't come with colored edges, and I was so disappointed. And so I wrote Amazon, and they were like, yep, that was an error, and they refunded it, so, but told me to keep it. I love me a good title. I'm like just an absolute title junkie. I will sometimes buy a book completely based on the title, even when I know I'm not gonna like it. It really could be its own book chat, I think, because I just, God, I love a good title. I feel like there was a brief period of time where hidden images in cover design was a thing, and then it kind of just fell off the map, and I don't know why, because it's so cool. It's maybe coming back. Tess of the Road has like a dual image thing going on that I love, but just I want more of it. Even though we say not to judge a book by a cover, obviously we do. So cover art is, I mean, it's clearly very important, but I really love actual art on books. There are artists that I love that I will always pay attention to their book covers and are recognizable, so like Jason Chan. I see a Jason Chan cover and I'm like, oh, I need it. But even beyond that, paintings, illustrations, anything like that on book covers just has my heart. And following on from that, book covers that you bring back old mediums, so like paper cutting for... What did I do with it? Oh, it's under the camera, I can't show you. Paper Valentine by Brenna Yovanoff has like a paper cut cover, and the Serafina series by Rachel Hartman has wood carvings, like actual wood cuttings that you then make a print with. And I thought maybe it was just designed, drawn that way, but she told me that it actually was a real legit wood carving, which I think is just amazing. I love when old styles are brought back like that and used in a cover. Anyone who follows me on Instagram will probably not be surprised by the fact that lettering, hand lettering on a cover is like a sure way to get into my heart, just get a little piece of it. I love me a good hand lettering style. I love a font heavy cover. For a while there was a really big trend in having silhouettes and like filigree and flourishes in the silhouettes on covers. You still see it a lot. It's kind of a classic, I guess, but for a while it was like all over the place. And I didn't get sick of it. It's a thing that I like. If you've been watching this channel for a long time, like OG subscriber, you'll know that I used to have a bookshelf that was just my favorite pretty spines. I ran out of room on that, and when I moved and kind of had to expand and have more shelves, I just didn't do that anymore. Instead I started organizing by color, but I still have some of my favorite spines displayed. I use them as kind of pedestals for things so that I see them all the time. I love a beautiful spine. That's what you tend to see on a bookshelf, and it's often neglected, and there's some gorgeous ones out there. The next one is weirdly controversial. I love it, so many people don't, but deckled edges. If you're unfamiliar, a deckled edge is where it's not cut straight. So like this book, flat. This one, all those little ridges. See where it just hasn't been smoothed over. Some people don't like it because they find it harder to flip the pages, or they just like the neatness of a cut edge, but like, I love a deckled edge. How do you not love a deckled edge? Another part of book design that I think is sadly neglected, but I would like to see more done with, is the naked book. So underneath that slipcover on a hardback book, having some design element there, and especially some surprising design elements, is just, it's like a little surprise. It's a little present. I love it. Illustrations in general, but especially illustrated chapter headers or like little flourishes around the corners of pages, things like that, just charm me. It's a thread running through the book that I really enjoy and that I wish more things had. I know it's not always suited to the style of the book, but I don't know, maybe partly it reminds me of childhood and just old books and like the illuminated starts to books that you'd get, like the giant, you know, fancy letter, and then the rest of it kind of goes from there. It's just kind of a throwback to that, I think, but yeah, I love it. I love any kind of unique design, so there are a lot of them out there. Here are some of my favorites that I shared on Instagram, but there are plenty more that I didn't talk about, like the Linger series by Maggie Stiefvater. Even though I'm not the hugest fan of the book, I think the design is great. The internal type color matches the book, so Shiver the book is blue and the words inside are blue, Linger the book is green and the words inside are green. I think that is really neat. Can make it a little hard to read though, but it's just, I like the different things, the things that kind of stand apart. Wrap around covers, this goes back to the whole cover art thing. If it's an actual art piece or a, you know, photograph of something that you've got your front cover that is mostly what you're seeing, but then when it wraps all the way around and you see that same picture, the rest of the scene continued onto the spine and onto the back, and sometimes even onto the flaps. I love that. I love the completeness of it. And I also love that you're seeing a smaller part of a whole and then you're getting to see the whole. Foiled embossing, really just embossing in general. If you don't know, embossing is like the raised lettering or images on a cover, so the rest of it's flat and then some of it kind of sticks out. That's embossed. I love that across the board, but I also like when it's foiled, so when you've got like that shine to it. I love that. And speaking of shiny things, just shiny. I like shiny. Mirrored surfaces or glittery, holographic, any of that is just like, I'm a magpie, I want it. I mentioned hand lettering. Of course it goes beyond that though, just to pure typography love. I love a good font. I love the sizing and the spacing and the weight of a font, and whether there's a drop shadow and whether it's curved, and the flourishes and curly cues, and when letters link together, just all of it is just, that's Misty word porn. I just love it. I like when the sort of throwaway pages that a lot of people don't read have something interesting that make you want to read them. So, you know, dedications and acknowledgements obviously, but for this month I showed copyright pages that are non-traditional. It just brings a sense of whimsy or interestingness before you've even started. Like most book nerds, I love a good leather-bound or cloth-bound book or a really old book, obviously. But I also like a more new medium, which is having that matte rubberized cover that for some reason we all decided to call buttery. I don't know what's buttery about it really, but like it just seems right. Just buttery. It's a butter cover. Oh my lord. Love it. As any good book collector worth her salt would, I'll love me a boxed set. Clearly. This one is kind of more tailored to book bloggers and vloggers. I feel like this isn't one that you get in store, which is a shame because I think it's something that should happen more and should be available for purchase, but that is a kind of package deal design. So when you're not just getting the book, but you're getting kind of a whole theme. Why doesn't this happen more? It's such a genius marketing thing. It makes me, like, I would want to buy it if I saw it, like, especially that one for Darkest Corners with the evidence bag and all of the stuff. Like, why wouldn't you sell it like that? It's so genius. As much as I can love a ridiculously over-the-top detailed cover, I also love really pared back simple covers with just a really striking, memorable icon of some sort. It's smart from a marketing perspective too if the book can hold up to it, because like, take The Fault in Our Stars. It doesn't matter if you've read it, it doesn't matter if you like it. If you see these 3 colors and little cloud shapes, you know automatically Fault in Our Stars. You at the very least know that you've seen it somewhere. It's familiar and it's more timeless. It's not trend dependent because it's just a little icon. So things like that stand out. Like many book weirdos, I love book smell. Some book smells are a little funky, you know, you can get some that smell a little mildewy, but for the most part, there's like a vanilla wood smell, especially for older books that just, it's intoxicating. I mean, you can buy it now as, there's candle scents that smell like book smell, there's a fancy pants, I think Ralph Lauren perfume or cologne that smells like books. Clearly there's a market for it. We all love us some book smell. It engages more of your senses. You don't get that from an ebook. This is another one that I don't know why it's not more of a thing. Maybe because it's hard to publicize, because how do you really show both? But reversible covers. Why isn't this a thing? It's such a genius idea, especially because sometimes a cover just doesn't seem to fit what you think the story is, but it's going to pull a certain reader in. And then there's another cover that does more fit it, that's going to pull a different reader in. And having that option would be great. This would especially be fantastic when they decide to change the covers mid-series, because we hate that. Everybody hates that. Like, obviously they have to do it for marketing purposes to make the book sell, but if you want your covers to match, having a jacket that's reversible that has the new cover design, but if you hate that, you can flip it over and have yours matching, that needs to be a thing. This one I think I can date to specific books, and that is all of the old school V.C. Andrews books, and it's peekaboo windows. V.C. Andrews books definitely did it best because they had this little window that just shows like the main character and maybe looking a little haunted or sometimes just normal, and then you open it up and you've got the full scene, which is always very ominous and just like unsettling. I always loved that when I was a kid and was too young to be reading V.C. Andrews but still was. And as a result now, I just enjoy a good peekaboo window. And you've got a little cutout in your hardcover or in your even paperback, and then there's something underneath that shows through, and when you open it up or take off the hardcover jacket, you see more. It seems to be a trend that's kind of fallen by the wayside, but like, bring it back, man. And lastly, book swag. All of the stuff that's not a book that can go along with a book, there needs to be more of that too. We get a lot of it in sort of promo packages if you are a book blogger or vlogger, and sometimes authors or publishers will do pre-order incentives, so like with the 6 of Crows Crooked Kingdom box set. And you can get lots of things now on Etsy and Society6 that hopefully the artists have gotten permission for, but you know, candles and pillows and all that type of stuff. But kind of like the whole package deal thing where you're getting the book as part of a themed thing, I think it'd be nice if it came with some of the little swag stuff, maybe like a little deluxe edition or something that came with a thing. It's nice. So there you have it. That is 28 days chock full of bookish things that I love. I really could have kept going on with all of the tiny little nonsense details that really don't need an entire day dedicated to them, but yet, yeah, in my heart and my head, they do. Let me know if I missed any of your favorites. I still had some on my list. I ran out of days, and I know there are plenty more out there, so I would love to hear some of the things that you agree with me and love, or you disagree and you're like, oh my god, I hate deckled edges. let me know that in the comments, but also let me know the ones that I missed that are your little details that you love, that draw you in, that make you want to own a book just because of that stupid little thing. But that is all for this month of book love. Thank you guys for joining me during it and chatting about some of these elements, and thank you of course for watching this video. Until next time, that's all for now. Happy reading! Here there be dragons, and here there be kitties that don't know their place. Hi, bro.